welcome to the webinar today. Thanks so much for coming on the call. This is the 6 Keys to a Winning Team. My name is Andy Goldberg. My company is Action Coach. And today, this is quite a short version of a much more extended workshop that I do with my clients. So this will be under an hour. We are live, so feel free to type questions into the chat box. I do have a habit of sometimes getting so into the content that I forget to look in the chat box, but I will do my very best. And if I do forget, I'll look, certainly look in the end, and we'll have time for any questions. And this is getting recorded, and the recording will go up on my YouTube channel at some point in the next couple of days. So these are my details. If you connect with me, I will connect with you back. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. And if you email me, I'll email you back. At the moment, I'm really pushing my YouTube videos. So if you do want to just visit my channel, there's a lot of videos shorter than this, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just a few minutes, on all sorts of different topics. So I try to give away as much value as I can on my YouTube channel. So if you like what you see, if I could ask you to just like and comment and share and that kind of stuff. My teenage daughter is forever reminding me that I need to do more with my social media and business, and she's quite right. I'll put these details up at the end as well. And look, your team is a reflection of you. A team is nothing more than a reflection of its leaders. You hired them, you found them, you hired them, you keep them, you manage them, you pay them, you train them. So they are basically your fault. And so I like to start off every workshop, especially ones where we're talking about team, with this particular slide. And this blue line here is called the line of choice. And we call it the line of choice because we choose every minute of every day whether or not we want to play above this line or below the line. It's our own choice to make, and we're making it all the time. And below this line, these are 3 words that you're familiar with: blame, excuses, and denial. We blame others for the results that we're getting in our business, which we're not happy about. We make excuses for not doing the things that we should be doing. Or we stick our head in the sand and we just deny that there's a problem or deny that it's our problem. Now, why do we do it? You know, why do we blame others? Well, or make excuses? Well, there's a few reasons. The first is it may be the truth. So it may actually be somebody else's fault. Maybe, you know, the excuse could be genuine. We don't have enough time. There is a recession. Our competition are undercutting us on price. It is hard to find good people these days. Whatever your excuse is, it could be real. So we make those excuses. Another reason we blame others and make excuses is it's easy. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to take any action, because when we're below that line, what we're saying is we are the victim of circumstances beyond our control. Therefore, there's nothing we can do about it but suffer. The third reason we go below that line is it's all we know. You know, we never really learned that there was another way. So there's lots of reasons we go below this line, and it doesn't make us bad people, but what it does mean is we're not actually going to get the results we want because we're not actually going to take any action. When we're below that line, what we're saying is, I'm not going to take any action. So I want you to imagine for a minute that it doesn't matter. You know, let's just say, look, it doesn't matter what the reason is. A reason not to do something, by the way, that's an excuse. That's the definition of an excuse, a reason not to do something, whether or not it's valid or not. Well, let's just say, do you know what? Forget about it. It may be somebody else's fault. Maybe, you know, there are circumstances beyond our control, pandemics, recessions, industry trends that impact us. All of these things may impact us. But what if we say, do you know what? This is my problem now. I'm going to take ownership of this. This is my responsibility. If I want to change my results, I need to get above this line and take some form of action. And miraculously, what happens is this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we start to see different results because we're taking different actions. And that's why when you're below that line, you're victim mentality. That's all a victim mentality is I'm a victim of circumstances beyond my control. When you're above the line, it's a victor mentality, because what you're saying is, I'm going to respond differently to the events that are impacting me and that are beyond my control. So our results are in our control. When we're down here, all we're focusing on is why things happened. And sometimes, yeah, it's important to understand why things happen, but more importantly, what we want to focus on is results. So we've got to be asking the question, how can we? And it's really important that when we're going to talk about team culture in a little bit, but it's really important when we're looking at team culture that we teach this concept to our team. I've got clients who print this slide out and they put it up in the employee lunchroom and places like that, and really get our team realizing that we're not here to bring excuses. What we're here to do is do our job and get results. And that's our job, is to get results. And in order to do that, we need to take responsibility for our problems, even if we didn't create them, even if they're not our fault. So, oh, and by the way, with this slide, if you email me at andrewgoldberg@actioncoach.com, I'd be happy to send you a copy of it. But what we'll also do is I'll make an offer for everybody on the call today. If you want to find out more about any of the strategies we discussed today, happy to just book a one-on-one with you, no charge, half hour, 45 minutes, and go through some of these strategies in a little bit more detail and discuss how they pertain specifically to you and your business and your situation. So the only thing that can really go wrong today, well, what could go wrong today, right? The technology could fail. My internet could go down. The computer could fail. All of these things have happened to me in the past, by the way. 5 minutes before this webinar was due to start, they ran a fire alarm test, and everybody had to file out outside, and I didn't know whether I was going to get back in at 1 o'clock. So lots of things can go wrong, but really the only thing that can go seriously wrong is if you don't give 100% participation on today's call. Now, what do I mean by 100% participation? What I don't mean is I'm not going to pull people in to talk or anything like that. This is a webinar. It's outward. It's not outward and inward, although you can type questions. What I mean by participation is my presentations are not shelf-help. Okay, you'll learn a bunch of good stuff today. You take a bunch of notes. You get really excited. You're going to implement something tomorrow. But then tomorrow, you go back into the real world, and it's mayhem again, and everything you learned today goes up on a shelf, never to be seen again. Okay, so don't make this shelf help. What I want you to do at the end of this session is I want you to go through your notes, and I hope you're taking notes, and I want you to write down what your top takeaways are and get implementing straight away. And I want to hear from you. I'd love for you to just email me and let me know what you've done and how it might have helped. So that's really all I ask of you today, is just give 100%. Be present. Don't be checking emails. Turn your phone off. Take a bunch of notes. And by all means, feel free to ask questions. Please ask questions. There's nothing worse than asking for questions and then you get to the end of a webinar and there's no questions. Also, look, to get the most out of today and to get the most out of your business, we must be willing to have some fun. And fun is really important in the workplace as well. So here's a little quick exercise. I want you to write down a score. So I want you to score 1 to 10. 1 being miserable, 10 being really, really fun. How much fun do you have at work? Okay, just write this down. Number, you're not going to share it with me, or you don't have to share it with anybody, but on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being shoot me, 10 being Disney World, how much fun do you have at work? All right, you got your number. Fantastic. I'm tempted to just ask you to type into the chat box what the scores are. All right, question number 2. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much fun do your employees have at work? All right, so 1 miserable, 10 great. How much fun do your team have when they're at work? All right, and question number 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much fun do your customers have when they're dealing with you? When they're dealing with your business, when they're shopping at your business, when you're doing business with them, how much fun are they having? Okay. Now, which of those questions is the most important? Circle which one you think is the most important. So most people tell me, well, what's most important is that the customers have fun. But what I would say is, look, it starts with you. It starts with business owners. It starts with business leaders. If you're having fun and your team are having fun, your customers are going to have more fun. And people like to do business with people they like and people that they have fun with. Doesn't matter what business you're in, and it doesn't mean we can be unprofessional or goof off, but what it does mean is when our customers like us and our customers want to hang out with us, they're more likely going to do business with us, which ultimately takes price out of the equation. There's a great book called Fish. If you've not read Fish, it's a great read. You'll read it in a couple of hours. Fish, ! Fun in the workplace. You can also YouTube it. And Fish is about a Seattle-based fish market where the employees in this fish market were basically working really, really hard. So, they're getting up at like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. They're handling fish all day. They cut themselves on the scales. They stink. They're covered in blood. They work long hours, and it's not the most attractive or pleasing job at times. And what they decided was, we have to come to work every day. We work long hours. Let's start having some fun. So they just started having fun at work. They'd throw fish to each other. They'd have this banter. They just made a decision to have a good time. And what happened is customers started to show up at this fish market to watch these employees having fun. And then the employees would start having fun with the customers. And they'd be throwing fish to the customers and just doing all sorts of crazy stuff. People started coming from all over the world to just see this fish market and watch these guys having fun. Now, what do people do when they come to your business to have fun? They start to buy stuff. So people started buying fish. And now you can YouTube this, and you can you'll find this on YouTube. And this is what the book is about. And, let's start looking for ways for having a bit more fun in the workplace. What's fun gets done. If your team are having fun, they're going to be more productive. They're going to get to come to work instead of having to come to work. So let's have a little bit of fun today, as long, if we can. I'm sure everybody's got a little bit of screen fatigue, and well done on coming on this webinar today. I'm sure you've had your share of webinars and Zoom calls. So let's get into the 6 keys to a winning team. There's 6 key elements we need to have in place if we want to have a killer winning team on board. So if there's 6 keys to a winning team, what do you reckon is number 1? Where does it start? Well, it starts here. So it starts with you. Presumably all of you on the call are in some sort of leadership role or management role. It starts with strong leadership. And what is strong leadership? What's the role of a strong leader? Well, that's a big question, right? There's a lot that goes on. I'd certainly recommend you read the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. John Maxwell, I think, wrote that. I could be wrong. I shouldn't have quoted that on a recorded webinar, but I'm pretty sure it's John Maxwell. But lots and lots of thousands of books on leadership, maybe millions. But really what a leader needs to bring to a business is first of all, they need to bring passion. And what I mean by passion isn't just unbridled enthusiasm. Passion means a commitment, absolute commitment and dedication to achieving the vision of the business. No matter what, we are not getting fazed by failure. We are not pessimistic. We are plowing on, moving on, complete and utter dedication and enthusiasm, moving towards our goals, because enthusiasm and commitment is contagious within an organization, which is why I say your team is a reflection of you. So if your team are bummed out about COVID, if your team are bored, if your team are lackluster, then chances are you are as well. So, it's often helpful to look in a mirror when we're looking at our team. And leaders need to take ultimate responsibility. Nobody wants to work for a leader who blames the team. So, leaders need to put their hands up and say, yeah, look, I got this. I own this. It's on me now to fix this. It doesn't mean you have to do the work. What it means is you need to take responsibility. You can hold other people accountable, and you can hold other people responsible as well. Great leaders also create other great leaders. So your job as a leader is to make other people stronger, get them to solve their own problems, get them to answer their own questions. A great book on that subject, again, it's a couple hours read, is The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. It's probably in my top 3 leadership books of all time, and you can read it before lunch. And it's called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey by Ken Blanchard, and it's all about passing responsibility back onto your employees to solve their own problems and stop them actually knocking on your door every 10 minutes and saying, hey, we've got a problem here, what do we do? Second key to a winning team is what we call common goals. Now, my definition of a team is a group of people working towards a common goal. Let me just repeat that. My definition of a team is a group of people working towards a common goal. Without the common goal, what you've got is you've got a bunch of people that just happen to work at the same place. Each one comes in, they do their own job, they work in their own little bubble, they have their own goals, they have their own performance evaluations that they're working towards, they have their own action plan, but they're not actually working together towards a common goal, something bigger than themselves. And that's where we ultimately want to get to. Team stands for together, everyone achieves more. When we're working together as a team, each individual can achieve a lot more than they could if they were working in isolation. So why is it important to have goals? Now, I do other workshops on goal setting, so I don't want to beat you guys over the head today with goal setting. But there's a couple reasons. People poo-poo goal setting. I hear a lot of negative talk when we start talking about setting goals. But when I look at the people who poo-poo goal setting, invariably, they failed at achieving their own goals, right? They didn't succeed in achieving their goals. And what happens is all goal setting is a waste of time because we never achieve our goals. Well, let's set goals and then achieve them, and then we won't poo-poo goal setting. First reason why it's important to have goals is, well, it's stating the bleeding obvious, to be honest, but goals focus attention towards goal-related activities. So when we set a goal, it focuses our attention towards tasks and activities that are actually going to move us towards that goal. So if you want to improve something in the business, if you want to improve a certain part of the operation, set a goal around it and watch activity start to gather around that goal. It just gives us a bit of focus. Goals inspire and create a team objective. When we all have a goal that we're working towards, it brings us together, it binds us together. We help each other, we support each other. It improves communication as well because we start talking about the goal. Whatever we focus on in our business improves. Whatever we focus on, we attract. So when we start to really focus on our goals and talk about it and think about it all the time, we actually really start to move in that direction. Goals energize us and make us perform better. Absolutely. People love to win, you know? So when we start to set goals, it creates energy. It creates a little bit of excitement. It creates a flurry of activity. Goals influence persistence. So we don't always hit our goals, but what we do is persist. We fight through it, we overcome our challenges. So I think it's a bullet point coming up actually, one of the things goals do is help us actually, here we go, overcome issues. So when we come across barriers, stumbling blocks that stop us from achieving goals, what happens is we fix those things in our business. And our business improves. Whether or not we achieve the goal, our business improves because we have to start to streamline and improve processes to move us quicker towards our goals. Goals can be SMART. Not everybody buys into the SMART acronym. I'm a big believer in the SMART goals, and SMART, you know, a lot of you will be familiar with this acronym. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time sensitive. So a specific goal, it needs to be specific because if it's not specific, well, we don't really know what to do. If we say, I want to be the best transport company in Scotland, well, what does that mean? Best in whose eyes, you know? How are we going to measure that we're the best? What does best really mean? If we're the biggest, what does that mean? Does it mean we're the biggest in terms of revenue? Does it mean we're the biggest in terms of employees, or we have the most offices? You know, if we're setting goals that aren't specific, we don't really know what it means, and we certainly aren't going to know when we've achieved it. So we're never going to know when to celebrate. Goals need to be measurable because we need to measure our progress. If we see progress, we'll persist. And this is why at the gym, when you join a gym, they always want you to weigh yourself because the gym knows that if you lose your weight and you get fitter, you'll keep your membership. And if you're not weighing yourself and you can't see the inches coming off, you're probably going to quit. So it's really important that we can measure our progress along the way with KPIs, you know, key performance indicators, tracking mechanisms, anything like that. Achievable and realistic. Well, what's the difference between the two? Achievable means it can be done. It can be done in the universe. Realistic means we can do it. I do believe in setting big goals, big BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. There's no point in setting a small goal. If a goal doesn't excite you and inspire you and scare you a little bit, is it worth even setting the goal? Okay. By the way, a goal that you know how to achieve is not really a goal, it's just a to-do. Just go and do it. If you already know how to do it, go and do it. One criteria of a good goal is you look at it and you go, man, I don't even know how I'm going to achieve this. If you look at a big goal and you go, I have no idea how I'm going to achieve that, that's the sign that it's a good goal. Now you need to go away and actually learn how to achieve the goal. We grow into our goals. The goal should be bigger than you are right now, and then we grow and get better in order to achieve it. And the same goes for your team. So your individuals, each of them can have goals that are bigger than them so that your team are always growing and getting better. And we need to have a time frame, right? There's no point in setting a goal that says we want to be the best trucking company in Scotland eventually. That's not inspiring. That's not exciting. We want to be the best or the biggest or whatever, you know, specific goal we want to set by the end of 2022. And that creates a sense of urgency. It creates that flurry of activity when we know we need to get started right away, because if it's eventually, then there's no real incentive to actually get going and start moving towards the goal. Key number 3 for 6 keys to a winning team, rules of the game. And the rules of the game means sometimes it's called our culture statement or our non-negotiables. The rules of the game are basically things like, what's the environment that we want to work in? What do we want the atmosphere and culture of our organization to be like? How do we feel when we come to work? How do we treat each other? How do we deal with each other? How do we communicate with each other as a team? What are the rules around how we communicate? So in Action Coach, we've got 14 points of culture. I don't know if I have it on a slide. I might have it on a slide coming up. I can't remember. But one of our points of culture is communication. And under communication, there are a few rules. And one of the rules is we don't gossip. We don't talk about other people that aren't in the room. Another rule of the game for Action Coach is we don't use sarcasm. So we communicate positively. We don't talk negatively about the competition. We promote Action Coach above all other solutions first and foremost. So a whole bunch of rules around that are all good. They're all positive. We don't have to remember them. We just need to, behave in that positive manner. How we deal with customers and suppliers, and how customers and suppliers deal with us. That's really important. Our rules of the game can extend beyond the internal team to our external team, our accountants, our lawyers, our marketing companies, whoever else we use. And we expect them to treat us the same way. Same goes for customers. We choose who we work with, and our customers are expected to follow our rules of the game. Our expectations of ourselves, what's the standard that we hold ourselves to? Are we all holding ourselves to a high standard? What are our expectations of leadership and our expectations of management in terms of how they treat us and the resources that they give us in order to enable us to be successful in our work? What are management's expectations of us? So that's the standards that we need to be working to, communication standards, performance standards, behaviors. These are just examples. Go onto the Action Coach website, go on my website actually, and download the Action Coach Points of Culture, or email me and I'll send them to you. Now, just a couple points around culture statements. So a culture statement should be what we call loose and tight. And tight means the culture statement, it's like the boundaries of a football pitch or any sort of sports pitch where, when the ball goes out of bounds, the ball goes out of bounds. It's out of bounds. It's a very clearly defined boundary. And when somebody's stepped outside that boundary. So it's tightly defined, and your culture statement needs to be tightly defined. It creates the context for our culture. But within that, we're people. And people are different, and people are complicated, and people interpret things in different ways, and people behave in different ways. We don't want to turn people into robots, okay? This is not about turning people into robots. We all have different personalities. People are going to disagree. People are not always going to get along. So within these clearly defined boundaries, it's going to be loose. And we need to accept that people, need to be their own person. They need to have their own characteristics as long as they're all playing within these clearly defined boundaries. So the context is tight, the content within that context needs to be a little bit loose and needs to be people-based, because after all, that's what we're talking about is people. And look, remember as well, when we're raising the standards in our organization, which is really what creating a culture statement is all about, something you need to keep in mind, and that is that not everybody's going to want to come with you. Now, I've done team workshops with clients where I've come in and I've taught them the concept of above and below the line. And I've taught them how to create their own rules of the game and culture statement, etc. And then somebody doesn't turn up for work the next day. And the reason is that's the person who's thinking, I'm the one who's not going to fit in. I'm the one who's not prepared to take personal responsibility. It's other people's fault. And people will often deselect themselves when you start to raise the standards in an organization. And that's a good thing. It saves you having to get rid of people, but you need everybody bought into this, or else it's simply not going to work. Here's a great culture statement. This could be your whole culture statement. If you want a shortcut, here it is. Okay, so you're going to get a clean sheet of paper out for this one, because you're only going to write 3 words. In fact, you're not even going to write 3 words. You're going to write 2.5 words. This is called the game changer. This will absolutely change the face of your business. Okay, so if you take nothing else away from today, take this. The game changer goes like this. Say, do, co. Say, do, co. So let's start with say. Say means say what you're going to do. Make a commitment about what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. So I recommend to my clients that they have management meetings at the start of the week, you know, with their leadership teams and their managers and their key personnel. And in those meetings, we commit to the goals and actions that we're going to achieve or complete by the end of the week. So we make that commitment up front. Do simply means do what we said we were going to do. Okay? Say what you're going to do and then do what you said you would do when you said you would do it the way you said you would do it. So far, so good, right? Okay, good. Here's the game changer. Co is actually short for communicate. And what it means is communicate immediately if you're not going to be able to do what you said you would do. Now, why is this a game changer? Because have you ever, I want you to think about your own experiences now for a minute. Have you ever gave an employee a task and then you went up to the employee after the task was due and said, well, did you do it? And he said, no, I didn't do it. And then you go, why didn't you do it? Now, what do they say to you after you ask them, why didn't you do it? Well, they're going to give you an excuse. And we hate excuses, right? We're always complaining. Employees are always making excuses. Why are they making excuses? They're making excuses because you asked for it. When you ask somebody, why didn't you do something? That's the only thing they can give you is an excuse. Because an excuse is nothing more than a reason why you don't do something. So you ask them why they didn't do it, and they give you an excuse, and we get frustrated. Well, can you do it next time? Co gets rid of the excuse because communicate immediately, if you're not going to be able to do what you said you would do, passes the ownership onto the employee, onto the team member, to proactively come to you before a task is due and say, we may have a problem. I'm not going to be able to complete this task when I said I would. Now, there's still a problem, but it's not an excuse and it's not reactive and it's not after the fact. You got team members coming to you ahead of time and they're coming to you and they're saying, and now you can work through this and you can overcome the challenge in some other way. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, personally, for me, co is the game changer, but say is the most important word. Because what we need is we need clear commitments from people. Here's what I'm going to do, and here's when I said I'm going to do it. And then we write them down. We have a saying in my company, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. All of my clients use a focus sheet every week. They write down the top goals and actions that they're going to commit to for the week, and they send it through to me. So I can look at it and go, yep, these are the things you said you were going to do. And then next week, at the next coaching session, I can look at this focus sheet and say, okay, how'd it go? Okay. So that's the game changer. Say, do, co. Feel free to use that one in your business or come up with your own rules of the game, or feel free to schedule a one-on-one coaching session with me and be happy to talk through some rules of the game for your business. Key number 4 for the 6 keys to a winning team is action plan. Now, here's my definition of an action plan. I don't know what yours is. My definition of an action plan is who does what by when. Who does what by when, not a business plan. A business plan is something that you give to a bank when you want to get funding, or you give to investors, or you're looking to sell the business. An action plan is what are you going to do each week for the next X number of weeks. My clients do a 90-day action plan. Every 90 days, they spend a day, or invest a day, I should say, setting their top 3 to 5 goals for the next quarter, and then break it down into weekly actions. What are my 3 actions each week for the next 12 weeks moving me towards my goals? This is what we call laser focus. We are highly focused no matter how busy the business is, no matter how much chaos and mayhem is going on. We've got absolute clarity around what are the 2 or 3 actions that we're going to commit to each week, or who's going to do them in order to make sure we're moving towards our goals. So we've got to make sure we have an action plan, and I recommend ultimately that all of your personnel, all of your team members, each have their own individual action plan, and those action plans all have the same focus and direction towards the company goals. So every single member of your team are all moving towards those bigger goals. Key number 5 is what we call support risk-taking. And what supporting risk-taking means is giving your team permission to fail. Giving your team permission to make mistakes. Because that's how we learn. If we're not making mistakes, then we're only doing stuff that we already know how to do, and we already know how to do it well, and we're not getting better. So the CEO of Subaru back in the 70s, or it may have been 1980s, at his annual conference, told his workforce of, I think it was like 30,000 employees. He said, "You're not failing enough." He said, "You're not making enough mistakes." And what he meant was, you're not actually getting better. You're not stepping out of your comfort zone. You're not innovating. You're not looking for ways to get better. We're staying the same. The evidence of growth is mistakes. And so we've got to make sure our team understand that we want them to get better and try new things. And, other than putting a company at a risk of, total annihilation, we want to encourage people to try new things. We want to teach people that it's okay to fail. This is a pretty old slide. I think a lot of people may have seen this one, but people may not be aware that Oprah Winfrey was, actually fired from her job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television. Happens to have been my hometown in Baltimore, Maryland, that she was a local news anchor. She actually watched me play at a Little League baseball game once. So before she was famous, she just covered community events in my hometown. Albert Einstein wasn't able to speak until he was 4 years old, and his teacher said he would never amount to much. And one of my favorites is Walt Disney, fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. This is more of a fun slide than anything else, but I think it proves the point that, we need to fail in order to be successful. Let's just fail faster. Let's fail faster, learn from it faster so we can get on and achieve the results. The Japanese are great at this. It's called Kaizen. Kaizen is about constant and never-ending improvement. We're always looking for ways to get better in small areas of the business, which ultimately compounds into much better results out the back end. So we get better, we implement an improvement, and then we just plateau. So what we do is we level off, we let the improvements settle in, we measure what we've done, and then we do it again. Then we let it settle in, measure what we've done, then we do it again. So every 90 days, looking for little things, little fixes that we can put into the business to improve our results. Your business is perfectly designed to give you the results you're getting. Okay, so that's a good one to write down. Your business is perfectly designed to give you the results you're getting. Whatever results you're getting in your business right now, that's what you should be getting. If you want to change those results, then you need to look in the business and change a system, change a process, or change a person in order to change those results. And finally, key number 6 is what we call 100% involvement and inclusion. And what that means is every member of the team feels that they are fully included in the organization. And the way we do that is through communication. Everybody knows what's going on. If you've ever read the book, The Great Game of Business, The Great Game of Business teaches you how to educate every person in the company about financials. So in the book, the author of this book was the CEO of a manufacturing company. And what he did was he taught every single person in the company, from the cleaners to the salespeople to the customer service agents, everybody, how to read a P&L, how to read a balance sheet, not just how to read them, but really understand what these numbers mean and really understand what's going on in their own company financially. And ultimately understanding how their job, their specific job, impacts the company financially over time. So everybody's really clued in to the company goals, the financial targets, and what their involvement is in doing that. And that means we have to have really good communication. Poor communication is usually listed as the #1 cause of business failure. Leadership not adequately and regularly communicating with their team. So we teach a strategy called a WIFL. I'm not going to read this document out to you, don't worry about it, but a WIFL is a strategy that you can employ in team meetings where you give each person in the meeting an opportunity to speak. And while they're speaking, nobody is allowed to interrupt them. So when each person takes their turn to do a WIFL, nobody else is allowed to say a word. Now, I want you to think about how cool that is, right? So how often in life do you get a chance to speak and nobody's allowed to say a word? Because what happens in meetings when you're talking? What does everybody else want to do? They want to jump in and say, oh, we tried that already, or oh, we can't do that, or that's what I was going to say. Yeah, everybody always wants to talk. So in a WIFL, it gives each person an opportunity in a safe environment to share whatever it is they want to share, to express whatever they want to express. WIFL stands for what I feel like expressing. You go around the room and everybody gets a chance to talk. And you can put some rules around a WIFL, like you're not allowed to talk about people who aren't there, for example. But what it does is it gives people an opportunity to get things off their chest and express. So a WIFL can be sometimes uncomfortable, But of course, the alternative to a whiffle is what we call the meeting after the meeting, where people have their little, pocket conversations at the water cooler with, could you believe what they said in that, in the meeting? Or, man, I can't believe they gave that project to Mary, for example. So whiffle keeps the communication in the meeting and across all boards, and it, eliminates rumors and should reduce complaining and clicks and that kind of thing. All right, just a few words on recruitment. Winning teams know how to get the right people on the bus. And what that means is, in the Action Coach recruitment system, we teach group interviews and we teach getting your team involved in recruitment. So if you're doing all the recruitment and you're doing all the interviewing, I think you're missing a real trick here, because the people that you hire have to work with your other people. So get your other people involved in the interview process. Our recruitment process at a high level looks like this. The first thing we need to do is do a positional contract. If you've ever read the book Who by Jeff Smart, it's probably the best book I've ever read on recruitment. Fantastic book. And like half of the book is about being really clear on the role before you start to hire. Being really clear on the skill sets and the characteristics of the ideal candidate for the role so that you can attract the ideal candidate. We call that a positional contract. It's not an employment contract. It's like a job description, but with a lot more to it. Expected outcomes, KPIs, who do you report to? What are really going to be your responsibilities in the role? And we include this in the recruitment process so that when we hire somebody, we don't hear things like, well, I didn't know that was going to be part of my job. Now, right from the outset what's going to be part of your job before you join. So in the positional contract, it can be the description of the ideal candidate, personality traits, skill sets expected outcomes, what are the results, in other words, that they need to bring to the company. A full job description as well. So you can put a lot into a positional contract. Come see me and we can talk about it. Having a good, exciting recruitment ad. We don't want to hire the best available people. We really want to hire the best people. We need to be attractive to people that are already happy in their jobs, if that makes sense. Okay, so we might need to pay a little bit more than the industry average. But most importantly, we need to be demonstrating that there's real opportunity here, real opportunity for success, real opportunity for growth, a fantastic place to work. This is why I like to include other team members in the recruitment process. You want to include the positive ones, right? Don't get your mopey, dull employees involved in the recruitment process, because they're going to end up turning away the best candidates for the roles. Callbacks, video backs, and phone screening. So instead of just getting people to submit a CV, do this. Get your candidates to, you put this in the ad. Look, if you're interested in applying for a job here, do a 5-minute YouTube video or a 5-minute webcam video of yourself talking about, what made you decide to apply for this role. So you can actually see people on video before you take it to the next level. And what I like about this is not everybody's going to want to do it. So they're going to deselect themselves. People who are really committed to working for you, people who are really committed to, to trying out for this role, they're going to get over their fear of doing the video, and they'll do the video. We're leaving messages on an answering machine or a voicemail. You can put up a specific number just for recruitment. It says, look, if you're interested in this role, please call this number. And when they call the number, they think they're going to get a person, but instead they're going to get a recorded message saying, after the beep, please spend no more than 1 minute explaining why you're the ideal candidate for this role. And of course, what you're going to hear is click, 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 people hanging up because they're scared. But what's going to happen is then they're going to call back a few minutes later with a prepared answer. And they're going to give you a good answer that you can then use. So it just helps to really screen some people out and get a sense of who people are before you continue on with the recruitment process. We do the group interview. I'm not really going to get into the group interview in detail these days, but I'll tell you what, it saves a lot of time, first of all, because we teach a 4-hour recruitment process, the whole process in 4 hours, and you get the right people on the bus the first time. But a group interview is basically interviewing all your candidates at the same time. They've got to, answer interview questions in front of everybody else. You get your own team members in the room as well, and they can ask questions. You get to see how these candidates are interacting with each other. I think I've got a question come through in the question box here. Okay, we'll come back to that question in a minute. So group interviews, They're tough. Not everybody likes the group interviews, and maybe it depends on the kind of role that you're interviewing for. But in our book, Instant Team Building, it explains how to do the group interview. I've added a few elements into a good group interview that I can share with you as well. Use DISC. So DISC, or there's numerous other behavioral profile studies out there. But what you want to do is you want to be able to assess a candidate as to whether they are a people person or whether they're task orientated, whether they're outgoing or reserved, whether they're results orientated, whether they're, whether they love to have fun, or whether they're shy, whether they're confident, whether they'd rather work as a team or work on their own. There's all sorts of things you can do. We like to use DISC because it's quick and easy, gives you a really quick assessment of what the type, what type of person is. And you should know what your DISC profile is that you're looking for before you start the recruitment process. If you want to find out more about DISC, just get in touch with me. Happy to share it with you. Include the team. I think we've talked about that. Look, it's really important to get your interview process right. Like Homer Simpson says, it's one of my favorite quotes from Homer. People who don't like their jobs, they don't go on strike. They just show up every day and do it really half-assed. And ain't that the truth? Bad employees don't leave. They stay until you get rid of them or until they get better. So look, here's a statistic for you. Having the wrong employee in a job costs your company 15 times that person's salary. Believe it or not, when you have the wrong person in a role, it costs you 15 times that person's salary. How come? Well, first of all, opportunity cost. You're spending so much time dealing with this employee's underperformance that you're missing opportunities to actually grow. And the other is their negative attitude, their bad attitude is poisonous. It spreads through an organization like, like a virus, basically, and it's very, very contagious. And so we need to get those people out of there as quickly as possible. So it's very expensive to hire the wrong person. So when you do hire the wrong person, get rid of them quickly. Hire slow, fire fast. Hire slow, fire fast. Take your time to figure out exactly who you want, and only hire the right person when you find the right person, okay? So if you're only looking for the best available people, the best available people may not be the best people. You may need to keep looking and find people that aren't looking for jobs at the moment. For example, your competition is one of my favorite things to do, is hire the best people from your competition. Pull them out of your competition. That's a great way to murder the competition. All right, so good. That's recruitment. Recommended reading. I think I recommended a couple of these books. The 1 Minute Manager series, especially the 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey, one of the best books you'll ever read on management. And again, you can read it in a couple hours. Who and Instant Team Building for Recruitment. Whale Done is a fantastic book for positive reinforcement. So catching people doing things right, as opposed to just catching people doing things wrong. Making sure that you are really thanking and complimenting and congratulating people on a job well done. Assertiveness at Work is a book I wish I read when I was 21 years old. I've read it twice. Fantastic book for learning how to have difficult conversations, how to make sure that you're not being too passive and letting your employees walk all over you, but making sure that you are communicating clearly and assertively with your employees without being aggressive. And the E-Myth, best book for small businesses there in terms of putting systems in place, getting your team to run the systems. All right, so I'm going to go look at the chats in the chat box. While I'm doing that, go through your notes now. What I want you to do is write down, don't just circle or highlight, but actually write down your top takeaways from today. And make a commitment. We talked about 100% participation. Make a commitment to start implementing one of them straight away. Here are my contact details there. Q&A, right, Smart. Can you send me the, oh wait, okay, yes, Smart, make it a goal by it being something you don't know. How can you do it, or it should be on the to-do list? Okay, so great question. If I don't know how I'm going to achieve it, how can I work out if it's achievable or measurable? Great question. Well, you'll work it out soon enough, I think, but what we do need to do is we do need to go and learn. So we've got a 5-step process for achieving amazing results in our business and our life, and it goes like this. It's just 5 words. Dream, goal, learn, plan, act. Dream, goal, learn, plan, act. Starts with a dream. What are we looking to create? What's the vision of our business? Dream, goal. Goal, what are the milestones along the way in order to achieve that vision? So what are our 10-year goals, 5-year goals, 3-year goals, 12-month goals? What are the milestones and targets that we need to hit in order to achieve our big goal? And then it's to learn. Okay, so what do we need to learn to get there? Do we need to get better at marketing? Do we need to get better at recruitment? Do we need to learn more about our industry or about our competition? Do we need to launch new products and services in order to achieve these goals? What do we need to learn so that we get better so we can achieve it? And once we've learned and understood it, then we can put a plan in place, an action plan, who does what by when, in order to achieve it. So there's a process we need to go through. I'm not saying it's easy. What I'm saying is if there's a goal that you already know how to achieve, just go and do it. You know, we don't need to make a big deal out of that and set it as a goal. Let's set a goal that excites us a little bit and scares us a little bit. And then bring that passion that says, yeah, we don't know how we're going to achieve this, but we're gonna. Okay? Can you send me the WIFL document? Yes, I can send you the WIFL document. There's a few people on this call today, so if you email me directly, andrewgoldberg@actioncoach.com, it's on the screen there. I'll be happy to send you that document. What I don't do is I don't send my slides. Okay, so I hope you were taking notes. I don't send my slides out because they're my product, right? They're my intellectual property. So thank you for the questions. I've got time for one more. Okay, so where's the evidence of the 15 times salary cost for the wrong hire? Look, here's a statistic for you. 78% of all statistics are made up. That was a joke. There are industry studies across the board that say basically, you know, analyze what's the cost of having the wrong people in a company, and you can look at all these different things. But it's just something to communicate the importance of hiring the right people. The emotional cost is probably even a lot greater than the financial cost, to be honest with you, because when you have the wrong people on board, it's where you spend most of your time. So it's the 80-20 rule. I was doing a workshop yesterday on, and we're talking about where can we find more leverage in our business. And one of the things we can do is get rid of some of your customers. Because what happens is the 80-20 rule kicks in, which basically says, this is the Pareto principle, which basically says we're going to spend 80% of our time on the 20% of our customers that aren't making us any money. You know, most of our time goes to the customers that cause us the biggest problems rather than the customers that are the most profitable. And I think the same thing applies to our employees. We're spending 80% of our time dealing with the underperformers and the negative ones rather than spending the majority of our time with our performers, the ones that can be getting real results for our business. So as soon as we start getting rid of the troublemakers in our organization, it frees up so much more time to get on and do things and achieve the big goals. So hopefully that helped. Look, we're gonna sign off because people appreciate it when we finish these things early. But like I said, thanks very much for coming on the call today. I am doing complimentary coaching sessions with business owners who want to grow their business. So if you are interested in just learn a little bit more about how you can implement some of these strategies, just click, well, you can't click on this link because it's just on my screen. But I have a Calendly calendar, and it's just calendly.com/Andrew Goldberg Action Coach, or just email me and book in for a one-on-one session. There's no obligation. I can't sell business coaching. All I can do is give as much value as I can in 45 minutes. And if you see the value, then we can talk about taking it to the next steps. If not, that's fine too. I'm not for everybody. I do believe every business should have a coach. That coach may not necessarily be me, but I'll be happy to talk you through some strategies specifically for you. But like I said, there's no charge for that and there's no obligation. If we thought that there was a fit for moving forward, then we can talk about that as well. So look, thanks very much again for coming on the call. This has been recorded. It's going to go up on my YouTube site if you want to watch it again and again and again. Thanks very much for coming on the webinar today. Hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.